Boys and girls, today we are going to talk about conductors and insulators. We've talked a little bit about we've talked a little bit about conductors because we were saying that some metals conduct electricity. We talked about that past couple of weeks, and that just means that it's traveling well, that heat transfer happens well in conductors. So this week we're going to really dive deep into conductors and insulators, what materials are good conductors and insulators, and how we know something is a good conductor of heat and which one is an insulator. All right, so this is something I want you to write in your science journal right now. I didn't send any science notes home with you guys. I just want you to write pretty much this slide to tell you conductors. And then as we talk about conductors, you can kind of add to your notes. So it's important to write in your science journal that conductors are materials that absorb heat easily. So right while I'm talking. Heat can travel through a conductor quickly and easily. So that's what that's meaning when it says absorb. It's traveling through that. It kind of takes on that heat very easily, very quickly. It says if an object gets hot quickly when exposed to heat, it is a good conductor of energy. And remember, heat energy is called thermal energy. So you may hear it referred to as that still, so don't forget thermal energy is just simply heat energy. Okay? So conductors absorb heat very easily and quickly. All right, and so we're going to look at some examples, but one thing that I always think of is if you were helping cook and you had a metal spoon and you put that metal spoon in the soup and then you kind of lean it up against the side and you grab that metal spoon again, it's going to be really hot. That's a good conductor. That's what I think of. The spoon wasn't hot, of course, when I stuck it in there, but after it sat in that hot soup, that's a good conductor of heat, and so now it's very hot. Okay, so once you have that written in your journal, you can make a list. So good conductors, one example is gold. Metal is the best conductor of heat. But there are several different types of metals. But let's look at these. I bet all of us at some point or another have sat down in a car and put a seatbelt on or went to grab a seatbelt, and we touched that seatbelt and it hurt our fingers, or maybe it rubbed across our leg in the summer when we had shorts on. Okay? We can really tell that's a good conductor of heat when that car's been sitting in the hot sun. Here's a spoon. Like we said, this metal pan right here, obviously, if any of us have accidentally ever touched a metal pan, we know that that's a good conductor of heat. Okay? Copper, that's what pennies are made of. Copper is a good conductor. Steel, so we see that in this example with silverware and this pan. Aluminum is a good conductor of heat. So gold, silver, copper, iron, steel, aluminum are all types of materials that allow heat to pass through quickly. So those are all good conductors. So, where you wrote in your journal what a conductor was, you can also add those words, gold, silver, metal, all of that. All right. So, that's what we were just talking about, what conductors were. So think now, what are two conductors? Think about something we named. You might think first metal, gold, copper, anything like that. Okay, this is the next thing I want you to write in your journal. So our other main word this week is insulators. Insulators are materials that do not absorb heat quickly, or sometimes not at all. Heat travels through an insulator slowly and poorly. And if an object is exposed to heat but doesn't get hot, then you would call that an insulator. Okay, so make sure you have that written down. And you might already be thinking in your mind of some insulators. You know, think of something you could sit in the hot sun and you'd pick it up and it wouldn't burn your hand. That's what we're talking about. One is rubber. Okay, if you left your rubber boots outside in the hot sunshine, they might feel warm, but they're not going to burn those hands, right? They're not a good conductor of heat. And those rubber boots can kind of help hold in that heat sometimes. And that's what an insulator does. It's not making it hot in there. Okay. Styrofoam, same thing. If you were to set that outside, it's not going to be hot to the touch. Okay. And just like when you put coffee in that styrofoam cup, it'll keep it warm for a little bit, but not very long. Cork is another good example. Wood. That's why if you are cooking and your only spoons you had were metal or wood, you might want to use the wood one so it doesn't get too hot to your hand. Plastic. That's a very good example. Now, not saying if you sat a bottle of water outside it wouldn't get warmer, but it's not going to burn your hand. Okay? So let's think. Is this a conductor or an insulator? Oven mitt. Is that going to be hot or not? That's an insulator. It helps protect you from the heat, right? That's what we like about it. We can put that on our hand. We can grab something out of the oven, and it doesn't let that heat travel through it quickly. So that's an insulator. Okay, what about that metal pan? Now, sometimes metal pans will have something on the handles, but this is just plain metal. That's going to be a conductor. If that gets hot, it's going to conduct that heat really well. Rubber gloves. That's going to be an insulator. That metal bench. You sit down on that metal bench in the summertime with some shorts on, and it's going to fry those legs, isn't it? It's a good conductor of heat. What material do you think would work best at keeping a drink cold? So let's think, if we had a plastic cup, maybe like your water bottle, and we had a can, and we were sitting them in the sun, which one do you think would keep your drink colder? Probably both of them are going to get warmed up. We've probably done both of those things. But that aluminum can will probably keep it colder a little bit longer. And that's why you see that we try to put our drinks in, you know, a lot of you guys here, you have your reusable like water bottles, and you might see that those, you know, they're made of lots of different things, but Yeti cups and different cups like that, they are insulated so that that heat's not able to escape from there very well. So, you know, there's lots of different options for keeping your drink cold or keeping your drink hot, actually, but it's just important to know that some really are not going to insulate or keep, you know, that temperature in there. They're going to let it release. Okay, so that's our lesson on conductors and insulators. Just remember that a conductor lets heat travel quickly, easily, and an insulator, it does not. It travels poorly, slowly.